Welcome to the session. Today we are having a quick revision on social science, geography, major landforms of Earth. Major landforms of Earth for class 6. What are the landforms on Earth? Humans have been living on different kinds of landforms in different ways. The Earth is made up of different landforms. Humans have been living on different kinds of landforms. How are these landforms created? They are mostly created by two different ways. One, the mountains. The big mountains are eroded by denudation, by weathering. What is that? The weather, the heat, the cold, the rain, the wind work upon the mountains, and then it becomes small dust pieces or particles which are again carried by the wind and the rainwater to another place. So the taking away of the small dust particles is called erosion. The depositing of these particles carried by the rainwater in a river or the wind at another place is called deposition. So there is erosion and deposition. Now before this erosion, for the particles to get created, you will have weathering. Weathering is effect of weather on a surface, on the earth's surface, on the mountains, on the soils. So when it is hot, it becomes expanded. When it becomes cold, it contracts, is heating and contracting. The forceful hitting of the wind on the rocks, the falling of the water or the falling of the river on a waterfall on a rock, all this will make small particles of soils to come out of the mountains. So you get soil, you get silt. These are very fertile. The rocks become stones, stones become soil, soil becomes silt. This soil and silt is very alluvial because it comes from the mountain tops. It is having lot many minerals. These are nutrients. And when these are carried by the river and put along the sides on the river banks, the plains become very fertile. So people can convert the plains into a most suitable habitat. So humans have been living on different kinds of the landforms. Landforms are a result of two processes. The first is upliftment and sinking of the earth's surface at several places. Second is continuous wearing down and rebuilding of the land surface. The continuous wearing down and rebuilding of the land surface is what the erosion and deposition is. The internal process upliftment and sinking is sometimes the earthquakes happen, sometimes the breakages happen. The surface of the land goes up or goes down. Sometimes because of the volcano, lot of molten matter come out. The volcanic ash is sometimes good, sometimes bad, and then this volcanic ash and the molten matter together form a new mountain at another place. All this happen. Erosion is wearing of the earth's surface by water and air. Deposition is addition of the earth's surface by water and air carrying particles from other places. Now natural calamities like earthquake, volcanic eruptions, storms and floods, they cause widespread destruction. At the same time, they also cause upliftment and sinking of the earth's surface. Now this happens not only on land, it happens on the ocean floor also. Natural calamities create permanent change to the environment. Now let us look at mountains. What are mountains? Any natural elevation of the earth's surface is called a mountain. It can be on land or it can be on sea. Natural elevation of the earth's surface is called mountain. Plateaus, plains. These are the three major landforms. Now mountain is a natural elevation. So elevation means what? An area which is higher than the surroundings. It may have a small summit and a broad base. A small summit means what? The peak will be very small, but base will be very wide. Some may have their peaks above the level of clouds. That is, they are very tall. For example, we have seen Mount Everest is around 5 kilometers high. That is, the highest peak in the world is Mount Everest in Himalayan range in Asia, north of India. As we climb up, it becomes colder. When you climb the mountain, it becomes colder. That is why people like to live in hill stations during summer. And also, the air density becomes less. The atmosphere becomes thin. So, people have difficulty in breathing because of lesser oxygen. When you have very high mountains, the peak of Himalayas, Himalaya means abode of snow. Why? Because the Himalayan peak are snow covered all the time. It is full of ice because it is very cold over there. The mountains have frozen rivers. What are frozen rivers? The rivers of ice. What are they called? Glaciers. Sometimes they melt because of the global warming and etc. It is difficult for the plants and animals to survive in mountain top when it is very cold and full of ice. But in other parts of the mountain, lots of trees come up. Mountainous areas are full of trees. Why? Because they have lots of rains and because the mountain, wherever you have the silt and stones from the mountain eroded, they are rich in nutrients and so you can have lots of big trees. So many forests are on the mountains. Steep slope causes the water to run off. In many mountains, a steep slope causes the water to run off. But at places terrace farming is possible. In certain mountains, terrace farming is possible. For example, in northeast India, first rice cultivation started in the mountainous areas of the northeast only by terrace farming. Frequent rain and cold climate helps the plantations. Tea, coffee, cocoa, rubber, these are called plantations. When you have frequent rain, when you have a cold climate, even if there is a mountain and if there is slope, you still have, because of small terrace farming, plantations of tea and coffee, because they need cold climate, they need lot of water from the rain, but they need the water to be run and drained off. A stretch of mountains, a group of mountains together are called a range. For example, Alps is a range, Andes is a range, Aravallis is a range. Mountains. Now this is a topographic map of India. These are very high mountains, Karakoram ranges. Here you have the Karakoram ranges. What are the big places in Karakoram ranges? In Kara you have Karakoram here, you have Nanda Parbat here, two top peaks in the region in Kashmir. Then you have the Greater Himalaya. In Greater Himalaya, you have very many pieces. You have Dhavalagiri, Gauri Shankar, Makalur, Nanda Devi and all. So Nanda Devi is here, Nanga Parbat is here. These are the Karakoram ranges. These are the Great Himalayas. Shivaliks are the southern part of the Himalayas. Shivaliks are the southern part. On the north of Nepal, this is the Nepal area. On the north of Nepal, you call it as a Sagar Mahal. And then you have, other than the mountains or the mountain range of Himalayas, you have hills. What are the hills? You have Mishmi Hills here, you have Dafta Hills here, you have a Shillong Plateau, Garo Hills over here. Garo Hills is where agriculture started in good old days. Then what are these blue color? These are the rivers. Blue color is river or water form, Indus. And then you have Punjab, Jhelum, Satluj, Chenab, Ravi, Jhelum, Ravi, Satluj, Chenab, Jhelum, all the five together. This is where you had the Indus Valley civilization, Mohenjo-daro, Harappa civilization. This is very fertile area, but just little south to it, to the east to it, you have the Great Indian Desert, the Gujarat and Rajasthan of India, the Great Indian Desert or the Thar Desert. So you have mountain, and then you have a Aravalli range, you have a Satpura range, the Mahadev Hills, Rana Pratap. So all these mountains you have, medieval Satpura range and Vindhyas, Aravallis and all over here. Here you have the Western Ghats. Here you have the Eastern Ghats. Eastern Ghats and Western Ghats are near the East Coast Plain and the West Coast Plains of India. Eastern Ghats and Western Ghats. The Ghats meet at Anamela Hills, Nilgiri Hills or Piney Hills or Ooty, Kunnur and all is there, where the Kodaikanal, all these hill stations are on the junction of the Eastern and Western Ghats. So you have different types of mountains and different types of landforms. All these are there. This is a topographic map of India. Now, when we study the mountains, we have different types of mountains in it. Now, if you see, this is the height in meters. The grey color is 6,000 above sea level. The light violet is 6,000, there is 5,500, 6,400. So, some mountains are only 75 or 100 meters old. So, 100 meters high. The white areas where you call is only 75 or 100 meters above the sea level. The pink is 300 meters above the sea level. Yellow is 600 meters above the sea level. This is how the topographic map of India is called. This we also call as the mountain map of India. Whatever you see in the blue dots, all these are lakes. For example, you have a Chilka Lake here and those things. Looking at the types of mountains, there are three types of major mountains divided into: fold mountain, block mountain and volcanic mountains. Himalayan mountains and the Alps are young fold mountains. Himalayan mountains and the Alps are young fold mountains with rugged relief and high conical peak. How these fold mountains are formed? If you have a piece of cloth lying on a table and both the hands you try to move the cloth towards each other with your hand, what happens is when you place your hand on the cloth flat on the table and try to move, it creates folds. This is the way the Himalayan mountains or the Alps are formed. These are young fold mountains. Aravalli range is the oldest fold mountain in the world. Aravalli range is one of the oldest fold mountains in the world. Himalaya is also a fold mountain. This means what? The surface of the earth slowly try to move. Maybe from the left and from the right towards each other, from the north and from the south from each other, from the east and the west towards each other. When they slowly move, they form folds which become mountains over a period of hundreds of thousands of years. Appalachians in North America and Ural Mountains in Russia have rounded features. They are not rugged, they have rounded features and they have low elevation and they are very old. They are very old fold mountains. Aravalli is one of the oldest fold mountain in the world, and Himalayan ranges and Alps are the young fold mountains. Now let us look at block mountains. What are block mountains? Block is uplifted blocks are called hosts. Lowered blocks are called graben. When a big block of land comes up straight away just like a mountain, leaving the places on the either side on a lower level, it is called hosts, HORSTS. When a block falls down, leaving the surface areas to be lying on the higher level, it is called graben. When large areas are broken and displaced vertically, it forms blocks. Whatever falls down is called graben, while whatever gets lifted are called hosts. The Rhine Valley and the Vosges of the Europe are the block mountains. Rhine is a block mountain. Mount Kilimanjaro, Mount Fujiyama are volcanic mountains. How the volcanic mountains are formed? The hot heated lava from the center of the earth, the crater, when it is very hot, it bursts open a small nozzle on the surface of the earth and the lava spreads out. The molten lava after some time cools down. When it cools down, all the lava that comes out freezes or hardens to form the volcanic mountain Kilimanjaro and Fujiyama. You have active volcanoes, you have passive volcanoes, you have extinct which will never come up. Then one or two volcanoes are near Andaman Islands in India. These are volcanic mountains. You have volcanoes under the sea also. Now there are multiple uses of mountains. They cause rain because lots of plants and trees are there. They stop the clouds and make the rain come. They store water. Mountains are source of water. You have reservoirs. They are the source of water because the glaciers and the Brahmaputra and Ganga and all start from the Himalayan range. They are source of waters. And then they are home to variety of flora and fauna. They provide fuel, fodder and shelter. They are the habitat for a variety of flora and fauna. Gums to raisins, there are many forest producers which are very valuable. Multi-purpose hydroelectric projects come up in the mountains because there is a possibility to have valleys and reservoirs of water and then stop the river water and stop the flood water and create them into a natural reservoir or an artificial dam, and from that dam the water can be let out slowly and then you create hydroelectric power. You can also slowly send that river water into certain channels and canals so that irrigation is possible. So electricity, irrigation, tourism, water storage, all that is happening. That is why it is called multi-purpose hydroelectric projects. River valleys, river plains are good for agriculture because they have alluvial soil, very fertile. River carries fertile soil rich in nutrients, so rivers from the mountains are good. This fertile soil are carried up to the delta, so distributaries are there. When a river reaches the sea, it doesn't just go and just empty it into the sea. It forms a distributary, smaller rivers, and all this spread out to form the delta. The Ganges and the Brahmaputra together form the Sundarbans Delta, one of the finest places on earth. And then the deposition of delta erosion in mountains. The deposition of delta happens of the alluvial soil, which has nothing but the source is erosion in the mountains. From the mountains also form a natural wall. Because of the Himalayas, so many times enemies could not enter into the Indian subcontinent. And then is it not possible to cross at all? No. To the passes, the mountain pass, the Shangri-La pass, and so many passes are there through which people cross across. Not only it stops enemies, it stops the cold northerly winds. The mountain form a wall by stopping the winds. Likewise, the monsoon, when it goes and hits the Himalayan ranges, the rain falls within the subcontinent. Ores can be extracted from the mountains. Mountains are a very rich source of minerals and ores. Plateaus. Plateaus are lower level land, not like plains. At the same time, not like mountains. The East African Plateau in Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, and the Western Plateau of Australia are the famous examples. The East African Plateau in Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, and the Western Plateau of Australia are the famous examples. In India, we have a Deccan Plateau, which is partly lying in Karnataka. Deccan Plateau in India is a rich source of minerals and oils. The black soil of the Deccan Plateau is fit for cotton cultivation. All those things are there. Plateaus may have one or more steep sides because they are neither hills nor mountains nor they are plains. They are called tablelands. They are like table. They have one or more steep sides. Sometimes they are only 100 meter above sea level. Sometimes they are 1000 meter above the sea level. They are elevated flat land, tableland. Tibet is the highest plateau in the world. Tibet is the highest plateau in the world. 4000 meters above sea level. 4000 meters above sea level. Now, this is the Deccan Plateau. These are the northern plains. These are the Himalayan ranges. This is the Indian desert. These are the western and eastern Ghats as well as western and eastern coastal plain. This is how the Indian map of topography looks like. The different landforms, the landforms of the earth or landforms in India. What are special about plains? Plains are rich in mineral deposits. Plains are rich in mineral deposits that are brought from the river on the and only on the banks. But plateaus are in general rich in mineral deposits, even though they are not brought necessarily by the rivers from the mountains. The African plateau is known for the gold. The Indian plateau is also the Kolar gold field is in the Deccan plateau. The coal mines are in the Deccan plateau. Also, there are reserves of iron, manganese, aluminium, etc. For example, in Chota Nagpur, India. Plateaus also give rise to beautiful waterfalls. Why? Because they are table land. They are flat or elevated table land. Height could be 100 to 1000 meters. They are neither mountains nor plains. So they could give rise to waterfalls. For example, Jog Falls is very famous. Like Subarna Rekha is also famous. Jog Falls and Subarna Rekha are very famous falls. Plateaus sometimes are formed by the volcanic lava and they are rich in black soil, which is suitable for cotton cultivation, like Deccan Plateau, Karnataka, India. Now plains are riverside, coastal or delta. Plains are riverside, coastal or delta. So either the sea or the river are on the other side of the plains, because they have this river or sea, the sediments, the silt have fine particles of very nutrient good enough for plants to survive or thrive. Plantation is possible, vegetation is possible. Large stretches of land which are mostly flat and not over 200 meters above sea level, mostly 100 meters above sea level at best. Sometimes it's 5 to 10 meters above sea level only. Mostly plains are formed by rivers and their tributaries. That is why the delta, Sundarban Delta, is very popular. Rivers carry the eroded material from the mountains and they deposit the stone, the silt and the soil. The stone, the silt and the soil, they deposit on the way to create plains. The largest plains in Asia are formed by Ganges and Brahmaputra in India. North America also has a lot of plains. For example, Mississippi, Missouri in the North America, Amazon in South America, the Nile in Africa. All these rivers create plains. The largest plains made with rivers are found in Asia and North America. That is why plains are very suitable for human settlement. Not very high, not very cold, not very hot. Good for agriculture, good for industries, good for transport. So plains are thickly populated. Cities can come up, industries can come up, occupation is possible. So plains are very thickly populated. One of the reasons why it is thickly populated is fertile soil. Another is transportation is easy. Third is they can build cities and industries because it is flat. And it is not cold, the climate is good. It is not rugged as the mountains. Indo-Gangetic Plain are one of the most densely populated area in India. For example, Uttar Pradesh, the Madhya Pradesh, the areas, the Bengal, on both sides of the Ganges and Brahmaputra. Plains aid prosperity because it aids commerce and trade in addition to agriculture and transport. So these are the basic topography with respect to India and what are the major landforms out here that you can see in India. Thanks for watching. Let us meet again in another session.